Shelby Oaks is written and directed by famous YouTuber Chris Stuckman, one of the pioneers, frankly, of film criticism, if not the pioneer, one of the greatest inspirations for this channel. Film has to do with a lady named Mia who lost her younger sister Riley about 12 years ago, around the year 2008. I mean, within the timeline of this movie. She was filming a YouTube program called Paranormal Paranoids, and on one of her investigations, she goes missing under very strange circumstances. This film has been a long time in the making. I am one of the backers. One of the perks is my backer t-shirt. All right, I have been waiting for this film to come out since 2022, and a lot of shit has happened with this movie because Chris Stuckman raised $1.4 million for the production of this film just from the backers, which is like legendary via Kickstarter. Super low budget for a theatrically released film, but I guess it premiered like about a year ago in select theaters or something like that. And Neon picked it up. Mike Flanagan got involved to help him kind of like polish everything, and some of the special effects that I think that they weren't able to quite get, they were able to do via Neon. So that's why it took so long. I want you all to know that even though I love Chris Stuckman and I've been looking forward to this movie. I'm really excited. My name was in the end credits. Okay. Super big deal to me. I will be honest about this review. Now, overall, I definitely liked the movie, but it does have flaws. I don't think that it's as bad as some people are making it out to be. The general vibe of the whole thing is like let's say that you were just on a random streaming service. Like every now and again, you see that one random thing, like Netflix or even like Peacock or something like that. They have like all these random ass horror movies that you've never even heard of before. Okay, so imagine that you didn't know who Chris Stuckman was, you didn't know anything about this production, whatever, and you saw Shelby Oaks on one of these streaming platforms and you watched it, okay? You'd probably be pleasantly surprised because this film is very well filmed. Like the actual cinematography is amazing. The lead actress is fantastic. The music is very unnerving, and I was actually very surprised at how freaky this movie really was. I didn't think it was actually going to get me, but there were a couple scenes that was like, damn, like this is pretty freaking scary. There's some effective jump scares in the film. Actually, all the jump scares there were, in my opinion, were effective, but he didn't like overutilize them, and there were some scenes that built up like very genuine tension without having a jump scare, which was great. It didn't become formulaic at any point. Now, some of the criticisms of this film, one of the biggest ones outright, the husband character. Why was this dude even in the movie? Watch the movie and you'll know what I'm talking about. He served no purpose. I mean, I would presume if you were to ask Chris Stuckman, speculating here, he would tell you that, like, oh, it was to better build, sympathy for Mia's character because her and her husband have been kind of torn apart for this, through this whole thing with her sister, which is fine and well, but again, the dude is just kind of there to be there, and he doesn't even partake in like any of the mystery or any solving anything. He doesn't accompany her at all. And also, I'm sorry, he may very well have been one of Chris Stuckman's friends, but the dude wasn't a very good actor. Most of the acting in this movie was pretty good, but the husband was a little meh. There's a couple other like minor things. One thing is that some of the scenes don't transition very smoothly. You may have heard in other reviews that the opening to the film is done sort of like first person, like, kind of documentary. Like you're seeing some of the footage of this paranormal paranoids, and Mia is being interviewed about her sister's disappearance, and it's basically setting up the whole thing, and it does a good job in my opinion of kind of like building up that like unnerving feeling. But then there's an event that happens that basically sets the whole story into motion, and it happens so rapid, like right after all of it just didn't feel quite organic. And there was another scene too involving these characters that were in a house and they're creeped out by something that they're seeing outside of the house. But I'm like, wait a minute, are they trespassing, or were they supposed to stay here and this is just some random person? Or it just wasn't very clear. There were a couple scenes like that, particularly towards the beginning, that just didn't flow very well. The other thing is the entity in question. I'll get a little bit more into the specifics of this when I do a spoiler video, but as of right now, I'm not saying shit, okay? But the entity, its motivations to me were a little bit confusing because the end seemed to suggest one thing, but the events leading up to it seemed to suggest something else. Don't get me wrong, I like a little bit of mystery in my movies. My favorite horror film is Phantasm. That movie makes no freaking sense, man. I love it, okay? Like, when you go to see a movie like this, and especially when it's such a beautifully tight runtime, I mean, this movie just flew by for me. Some people said that they were bored with this. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. I think that the movie was like paced just fine. I get people thinking that the ending is a little bit weird. A lot of people have also been saying that it's very derivative of other films. There are definitely some. I mean, Chris Stuckman loves movies. He's made no secret of that. He's built his career off of reviewing them. Okay, so he knows his shit, and naturally he's gonna draw inspiration from certain things. Like I could see a little bit of the Blair Witch with that symbol. There's like little stick figures of this symbol or carvings or whatnot. I'm like, okay, I could see where that's like Blair Witchy. There was one element or plot device, what have you, that kind of reminded me of Evil Dead a little bit, but there was nothing that like leaned so heavily into another film that I felt that like yeah, again, it's like if you want to criticize, in my opinion, okay, I'm just one asshole, but if you want to say that Shelby Oaks is derivative because of like the influences it took from other movies, then you'd have to say that The Conjuring is derivative. The Conjuring is a friggin' haunted house movie. Like, there's nothing that happens in that film that you haven't to some degree seen before. It's just that James Wan had a really good, clever way of bringing it to fruition that felt a little bit different. Okay. But the actual, like, components of the story, nothing that you haven't seen before. So I think that people were a little bit harsh with things like that. As far as the flaws that this movie did have, I'm still super stoked to have been a part of it. I would also recommend seeing it. Go in. Where it came from. Okay, it came from a YouTuber. Go in like that and support this movie. I was actually happy to see that it wasn't just me and my buddy. There was a decent enough crowd there, which is good. Because this movie only really. I mean, he the first 1.4 million again was all backers, so he got that money. Like, we knew what we were putting the money in for. We know we're not getting money back. We'll get like our little backer kits, and like I'm still waiting on the Blu-ray to come, but like other than that, that's it. Like, financially, like, we gave that money to him for this project. Whatever 1.2 million or that Neon added to kind of like help polish the movie up a little bit, that's all they'd really have to like make back to make their money back. And I don't see how they won't make it back this weekend, even if the movie isn't like a success, like you know in normal terms. For a film like this, for a very low budget film like this, it's gonna I mean, I think he'll make a hefty profit off of it. And I hope that all the criticism out there from everybody else, I hope that Chris Stuckman's able to kind of listen to it without being too discouraged. Lord knows, I talk about my short that I have on my YouTube channel, One for the Road, chock full of flaws, particularly in the beginning half, and I recognized them and I pointed them out. For example, I wasn't paying attention to like the ventilation system in one of the buildings that we were filming in. So certain scenes shot at certain points had like kind of a hum in the background that I wasn't anticipating. My director of photography, I wasn't as clear as I should have been with like what kind of shots I wanted for particular parts. And, I can't blame him for that. That was my lack of communication. But, that's my whole point. It's like, you see these things and you learn and you grow. Given that this was his first outing, like this was his first film ever, like after literally just being on YouTube, I think this was a huge success. Again, not perfect, but still creepy. Definitely creepier. There's some good gory scenes in this movie too. It's not gratuitously gory, but there's some really icky parts. It gets pretty dark, and I think that, again, I think that for a first outing, this was pretty damn good. Go in, you know, go in with lowered expectations. Okay, my opinion, I think that the worst that'll happen to you if you go in with low expectations is you'll be like, I'm not surprised. Best case scenario, you'll be like, damn, that was actually a lot better than I thought. But Shelby Oaks, Chris Stuckman, dude, so proud of you, man. You did it. This is so freaking awesome. Like, you're an inspiration to so many of us. So many schlubs created our YouTube channel, honestly, because you paved the way for that, And, like, I'm not speaking for everybody, I'm speaking for myself. I'm very grateful for that, and I'm grateful that you made it. If you never do anything again in your life, you still did it. You did your dream, you know. So, guys, Shelby Oaks. It's not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination, but it's so cool that this has happened, and that it happened the way that it did. And you can nitpick like certain things, but I think that if you just go there and just try to enjoy the experience, I think it'll be good, or I think you'll like it. I think you'll enjoy it, or get something from it. You'll definitely be creeped out by it. I mean, it's a creepy movie. um, but yeah, guys, Shelby Oaks, who else has seen it this weekend? Please let me know, and let me know what you think. And if there's something that I missed or something that I misunderstood, because I did get a little confused at a certain part, please feel free to comment below. I would love to discuss this movie further. All right. But as for this guy, as for this reviewer, definitely Stuckmanized. And that's all she wrote. Subscribe.